Notre Dame, Penn State, Orange Bowl. Imagine, if you will, getting to say, hey guys, I'll see you later in South Bend. Hey guys, I'll see you later in State College. Why? Where are you going? I'm going to South Florida for the week. This is what you train for. This is what you live for. I'm going to be at this game. We're looking very much forward to this one. The health is a big topic of conversation around both these teams. Now, I am talking to you on Sunday night. If you're watching the preview video, I'm recording this. We're live, but this was recorded on Sunday night. So Abdul Carter, we are hopeful that he'll play for Penn State. He's putting a bunch of Star Wars stuff out on Instagram. I've never seen it, so I have no clue what it means. Jesse tends to think it's a good sign. I don't know. Right now, Jeremiah Love, we think he's going to play for Notre Dame. Xavier Watts, we think he's going to play for Notre Dame. You know, Riley Mills is out. He was out. He's out for the season. So fingers crossed. This is to be expected, by the way. You add on more games at the end of the season, injuries are going to be a problem. That's not a Notre Dame, Penn State problem. That's a college football problem. So, Notre Dame. Okay, I have been labeled a Notre Dame hater. It's false. It's fake news, but it is out there. So I do need to address it. It's hard to figure Notre Dame out. It's hard to figure them out because typically when you look at these teams, you say, they've got to get this, they've got to get that. Well, Notre Dame doesn't have to get anything. Notre Dame, as it turns out, could get 90 yards passing from Riley Leonard, and it's good enough to beat the SEC champion by double digits. Why? Because they're really good at taking the ball away. The problem with people like me who think like me is I don't believe in forecasting turnovers. But it's obvious that there are exceptions to that rule every year. Notre Dame is an exception to that rule this year. Notre Dame is a team who quite literally every week is doing this. Therefore, they are number 4 in the country in time played with the lead. They don't trail. I don't know. I know they trailed against Northern Illinois. I don't even remember them trailing any after that. So what if Penn State grabs a 10-0 lead? Oh, did you hear how easy? That just rolled off the tongue. You know, because like Ohio State grabbed, actually Penn State grabbed a 10-0 lead over Ohio State. Now, Ohio State came back to win, so no one remembers it. But I was there. I was standing on the sideline, and I'm like, well, Penn State's got this game. False. But what if they grab a 10-0 lead in this game? Well, it would be wonderful. And it would make Notre Dame very uncomfortable because it would make them play catch-up. But here's the problem. It is so easy to say. It's a lot harder to do, and the reason I know that is because if it was easy to do, someone else would have done it already, and they haven't since like week 2. No one has made Notre Dame feel all that uncomfortable here. So, you know, the whole Riley Leonard has to do this, Love has to do that on the ground. Maybe they don't have to do anything. Maybe they have to duplicate what they've been doing every week. It's weird looking because the box score doesn't look dominant. You got Notre Dame with like 230 yards offense and they're winning. And the way they do that is a complementary nature. Really beautiful. You know, if you're old school and you love watching offense, defense, special teams, and you really do believe that those 3 are equal in value, which not a lot do anymore. They say it, but do they believe it? Well, you can find out by how they think about Notre Dame. I am guilty of this. I'm admitting to you. I am hypocritical because I have said this in the past. I have said special teams are a third of the game. But yet, when it comes time to value it with Notre Dame, I haven't some of the year. And then the turnovers just boggle my mind. So, what happens in this game with the health situation will be paramount. But then, with a guy that is healthy, Tyler Warren, what happens with him? Now, this is fascinating. When you dive into the weapons Penn State has, Tyler Warren, by a wide margin, is the biggest threat you have to worry about in the passing game. I once watched him catch like 16 or 17 balls in one game against USC because it was this year. So, Notre Dame, big topic of conversation around the Irish right now. How do we stop Tyler Warren? Well, you don't. How do you contain him? How do you defend him? How do you limit him? Well, that is up to the imagination of Al Golden. But one thing to note is Notre Dame is number 2 in FBS this year in man coverage percentage. So they play man a lot. They are one of 4 teams that run that, man, higher than 50% of the time. And I would imagine with the lack of maybe other game-breaking playmaker type weapons out wide on Penn State side, they'll probably do that here. I don't know that Notre Dame feels there is any need to change what got them here, But Penn State's best threats in the passing game are Tyler Warren at tight end and their tailbacks. Now, there could be a one-off where that's different, and they certainly did try to go downfield several times in the deep ball against Boise State. They tried, and maybe you get a PI there. Drew Aller finding out if he can hit the roof of the building with some of those deep balls. Quinn Ewers throws a ball like that sometimes too. How do they play them? Do they do linebacker under, safety over? Like, there's a lot of different combinations and looks you can give when you don't have 2 or 3 more big-time receiving threats that you have to, not ignore, but you have to dedicate special attention to. So I still wonder about that. I wonder if that third phase really is impossible to predict here. Just as a mental exercise, I'd love to see what Notre Dame looks like trailing from behind. It stands to reason, just logic screams at you, you are not going to go 3 times or 4 times in a tournament like this and just never trail. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong and maybe they will, or maybe someone else will. But with the kind of margin for error ball they play being very low, logic screams at me, hey, eventually they're going to have to come from behind. Now, the follow-up question is, will they be able to? With Penn State here, Penn State's played in all kinds of games. So Penn State, I've watched them trail. 2 of those games they've lost, but I've watched them trail. It's tough to see Notre Dame constantly moving the ball against them. Penn State defensively checks out. So, again, that sounds dismissive of Notre Dame. It's not. It just means the same thing it meant against Georgia, because Notre Dame didn't move the ball a whole lot against Georgia. They didn't have to. The thing you have to sell yourself on is, will the typical Penn State game show up? Will the typical game script show up? Will they force you to put the ball on the ground? See, everyone says we can't hand the game to them. I'm sure some Georgia folks walked away saying, boy, we gave that game away. They took it. They took it. It wasn't unforced. They took it from you. They took the game. They forced turnovers. They forced the issue on special teams. So, a couple of the margin type things that I was looking at here. You can get some chunk yardage on the ground against Notre Dame. They're 57th in explosive runs allowed. So they're not terrible, but it is there. And Penn State is peaking at the right time on that front. They have averaged 233 per game on the ground their last 3. And, that is Oregon, and then that's SMU and Boise. So those are 3 playoff teams that they've done that against. They do that again, we'll see, because I got to see it to believe it. But if they do that again, going to be a good day for Penn State down in Miami. Red zone. Here's the key. One of the hidden keys, at least. Notre Dame gets down there. They do not settle for field goals. Just throughout the season, the book on Notre Dame is if they get in the red zone, they are using all 4 downs to get in the end zone, or you turn them over on downs and they'll trust their defense. They don't kick many field goals. Penn State's defense is the best in the country at red zone touchdown percentage allowed. You could very easily see in the limited trips to the red zone that Notre Dame probably does get in this game, it comes down to 1 or 2 4th down conversion attempts, 4th and goal, touchdown attempts, or turnover on downs. Could very well be. And if that is the case, you love where you're at if you're Penn State. So let's take a look at what the FanDuel number is. Right now I'm looking at Notre Dame minus 1.5. Our model has Notre Dame minus 3. I think Penn State's going to win the game. Of course, that's because I'm a Notre Dame hater. It's not. It's because when I have a team that is that dependent on turnovers being a core tenet of their formula, and I see it continue to happen, I go with history. History tells me there's eventually going to be a game where it doesn't happen. And if that core tenet of your formula does not show up, then it's just up to you to win the game in a traditional manner. Traditional here would mean you got to move the ball well enough. And I simply don't believe Notre Dame will be able to do it. Now, if Notre Dame's formula shows up, and if they are plus in the turnover battle, they'll probably win the game. I'm just going to bank on this being the game where that doesn't show up. So I am taking Penn State to win and not move the ball well either, by the way. I do not have a ton of confidence there, but I am going to slightly lean Penn State to win, and therefore I obviously think they cover.